So the question is, how is it, in a place stereotyped by many South Africans as arch-conservative, when many people look at the Free State, they look at Bloemfontein, they sort of say, oh, die verkrampte mense. Let me tell you something. It is in this very place where I have seen the most amazing transformation, and I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why in a second. Universities like Cape Town and Wits cannot change fundamentally. When black students moved into the residence at Wits, the white kids fled to Parktown and Rosebank. You know that, I know that. When UCT started to integrate its residences, the white kids fled into Observatory and Mowbray and Rondebosch. I saw it with my own eyes. But these are the so-called liberal universities. The assumption of innocence, as Herman Guillaume calls it, is something that those universities still have to work through. But in the historically Afrikaans universities, like the University of the Free State, because of the meaning of the residence, the white students stayed. And most of our residences are now integrated on a 50-50 basis. Between you and me, I don't like the mathematics. So in a year or two, they will simply choose their own race. But we had to do it because I could see a race 2 coming if we didn't break the burden of separate living, separate classrooms, separate studying, separate social spaces. The entire place was segregated. Now there's a big difference between desegregation and integration. In other words, you can remove the barriers to people being together. It's a very different thing to encourage and enable people to be together in an integrated way. So desegregation is not the same thing as integration. And what these young people, all 30,000 of them, have proven to me in the short period of time is that with the right leadership, not one person, of the team, I believe very strongly in distributed leadership, I have encounters with students, white and black, in which they're asking not about their anger, not about the terrible stuff that happened with rights, not about their memories of inclusion or exclusion. The question they're asking is, how can I be part of the solution? You don't overturn 350 years of colonialism and apartheid over a weekend. So I am very, very aware of the fact that transformation is not an arrival, it's a journey. I understand that backsliding will take place. I understand very, very clearly that the beautiful things we see every day is not guaranteed to always be beautiful. That's the nature of organizational change, and that's the nature of social change in a country with our history. So I'm not trying to suggest to you that everything is always perfect. But I am saying to you that there is a remarkable shift. Now, how does this happen? If you want to change an organization, if you want to change young people, whether you're a parent or a director of a company or whatever, you just need to know two things. And for this, you've got to pay me a lot of money. You just need to know two things. It was as true when I was a student leader in the USA, it's as true as when I was a student leader in Zimbabwe, it is as true in South Africa. You just need to know two things. Number one, you've got to be firm in making decisions about difficult things. Prevarication is the end of you. Clear moral choices is what Jim Collins calls it in Good to Great, a book which I'm sure all of you have read. But the second thing is, you've got to love the people you lead unconditionally. And actually it should be in the reverse, because the love comes first. And when young people sense that you will walk through fire for them, when your employees have a sense that the job is not about you, it's about them, when they have a sense that this man or woman will stand up for me in any crisis, they will do anything for you. The other thing they need to know is that there are firm rules for behavior. What we lack in our country, whether it's in political leadership or religious leadership or educational leadership or business leadership, are leaders who take a position on what is appropriate and what is not. When you have politicians who still have to think that whether getting a Mercedes-Benz from the very people who were your contractors when you were Minister of Transport, when you still have to think about this, you know you have a problem. We get the leaders we deserve. What they're saying is that the choices we make have consequences. And when leaders do not take a position, you get the Bahrain, you get Tunisia and Egypt. And the first thing you've got to do is, and what we did with these young people, and trust me, anybody who's worked with me will tell you, you can easily sway me about anything, because I really, really deeply care about the people I lead. But there has to be a line that is followed. This has to be right and wrong. But you cannot get these 30,000 people to a point of deep transformation in their own lives with spillover effects to their homes, very often in the rural areas like Virginia and Welkom and Copies, without a deep understanding of your own woundedness. This is very important. This is not the King Kong model of leadership, right? This is the model of leadership that says, I too am hurt, compromised, incomplete, struggling with the stuff I'm asking you to deal with. This is not self-righteous babble. This is about acknowledging your own struggles, even as you lead young people, older people, towards a set of goals that deeply change our country. This is very important. And my plea to you today is, even as you lead, to ask yourself the question, how do I deal with what Rampela calls my own ghosts from the past? These kids who sat on the concrete slab did not grow up under apartheid. But they heard stories from us, from teachers, from parents, from the Voortrekker Beweging, from all kinds of associations, from adults. They heard stories and they believe it to be true. Our role is to interrupt those stories. Our role is to show them a better way, because we cannot carry over the bitterness of the past to yet another generation of young South Africans. We need to break with the past. We must remember the past, but turn from it in a way that we never ever again repeat the same mistakes.